DemiGod by Christian Banweg at no-name-games.com. It's time to get this sucker on the table and roll some dice. On the right-hand side of your screen are three marble statues. These will be representing our major hero, Polemocles, his minor hero, Asperadatos. I know they're Greeks. I know you guys are making jokes about minor heroes. I don't mean underage. I just mean not quite as powerful. And then we only had the money left for an archer minion. The bronze statues, we have Kakoigetis as our leader, and he has 6 minions. So we have a mismatch here, some asymmetric battles going on. He has 3 light spears and 3 archers assisting him. We don't give them names. We don't think they're going to last very long. I will be rolling red dice for the bronze statues, blue dice for the marble statues. I'm going to pull back and show you the table because I'm not quite sure about the action economy here. My table, of course, is half size. I'm going to be using all of my measurements cut in half. 18 inches by 18 inches, 15 millimeter figures. It's going to work out great. If the game itself works, I have some trepidation. I have some concerns. Let me explain. Every figure on its action gets 2 actions. On its activation gets 2 actions, and it can use both of those to move. Most figures are only going to move 3 inches on an activation. They're going to run 6 inches on a double action. Okay, that's fine. But what happens if you have a loot counter in the center of the table? It's 9 inches from the edge of the table. That means it's going to take you. So again, the real problem here is that you only have 8 turns. That means you have a total of 16 activations. It's going to cost you, at 3 inches, it's going to cost you 3 of those 16 to get here, 1 to pick it up. And oh, by the way, once you've picked up the loot counter, you only get 1 activation. You're weighed down. You move a lot slower. That means it's going to take you another 3 full turns, or another 6 activations. That's 10 of your activations altogether just moving. God forbid the gods forbid there's a loot counter on the opposite side of the table. It's going to take you 3 turns to get there, turn to pick it up, and then you won't have time to get off the table because in 4 turns, you're only going to be able to move 12 inches. This means those loot counters, it really is going to impact play. Now, I have to walk through that to kind of help myself understand what's going to happen when I place those loot counters. But the real issue here is how that interfaces with the campaign system. I've read through this book a couple of times. Near as I can figure, the only way that you get more coins through the course of a campaign is by grabbing loot counters. Those things are really important. And it's not explicit, but I have to assume if you can wipe out your opposition, then you're in control of the battlefield. You can take all the loot counters. Even the scenarios where you're fighting giant monsters, and it's not entirely clear to me, where this Minotaur, this is a great little scenario for fighting a Minotaur. I think this is written for a 2-player game. And if you're playing solo, and you've got 1 warband going up against the Minotaur, all you're going to get out of it is 2 magic daggers. You cut his horns off, and you treat those as celestial knives. Long story short, we'll look at it when we do our next story. But the point is, I'm not sure about the action economy on this one, guys. I'm not sure about the turn limit. I'm not sure about how this is going to work. What I am sure of is, before you start playing, you decide which are going to be the opposition's table edges, right? Where are you going to deploy? And here's one thing that kind of mitigates what I talked about earlier. You can deploy up to 6 inches, 3 inches in my case, onto the table. So that's essentially 1 free activation, 1 free movement. But you decide those first, then you place your loot counters, and in our case, because there's no monsters, it's just going to be 4 loot counters. You take turns placing those, very 1-page rules. Then you roll off for which side of the table you're going to go on, or you want to mobilize on. So, for example, you take turns placing these. I'm going to use 4 gems, different colors. They don't really represent anything. You can deploy up to 3 inches from the edge. 3 inches, you have to be further than 3 inches, but I think you actually deploy up to 9 inches. So you can actually put one of these in the deployment zone and hope you win the roll-off. So in our case, I may say, all right, you know what, I'm going to put 1 here. And then the other guy says, I'm really counting on winning this roll off. I want to grab those loot and get off. And the other guy says, oh, well, geez, if you're going to put them both in that one, then I'm going to put one over here in my deployment zone. And then we really only have one to fight over. So somebody, whoever wins this roll off, is probably going to get 2 loot tokens. Although the curious thing here is, again, so we're gonna roll off to pick which side. And the blue die is, we didn't tie. I'm a little surprised. So the red die says, the bronze guy says, yeah, you know what? I'm going to deploy over here. The bronze boys drop somebody off with each of those gems. This works out really well for them because they've already got 7 guys on the table. They can afford for 2 to just skedaddle. Once you're off the table, you don't come back on. They're still going to outnumber the opposition 5-3. The boys in marble say, well, we'll just hold off on that purple gemstone. We'll try to grab the red, and then we'll get off the table. And if we can get away with 2 of these, we'll call it a success. So that's about all you do. The next thing you do is figure out who gets to activate first. And to do that, you roll 3d6, add the highest resolve from each side. That means we rolled a 10 and a 7. The highest resolve on both sides is +1. That means that the limestone team, Team Polemicles, gets to go first. And we'll go ahead and use our hero. He's going to use both of his activations. Remember, he can move up to 6 inches. So he's going to run over to here and stop right there. Close to the gem, but not right on top of it. Now, all of the major heroes have gone on that side. So we're going to have ourselves a boss fight right out of the gate. Oh, maybe not, because Kakoigetis is going to have to stop just shy. If they're within a half an inch of each other, then they can fight. They're both carrying swords, so that's about all we can do. Then we go to the minor heroes. The only minor hero we have on the board is Asperidatos, who is going to move 4.5 inches, and he'll be right up on top of this gem himself. That's it for the minor heroes. Then we go on to the minions. Bows in DemiGod have a range of 12 inches at this scale. There's no range bands to worry about. If you are shooting through intervening terrain, then it raises the speed of the target. This is kind of a dodge thing by 1. Now we don't have to worry about that because it's a straight shot. Clear line of sight. So we just roll 3d6. If we move our archer and then fire, that raises the speed of the target by 1 as well. So we're not going to do that. We're going to shoot, and then we're going to skedaddle. We're going to grab that loot and get out of here. So we roll this, add the combat skill. We get a result of 10 plus 2 is 12. Then Kakoigetis is going to roll 3d6, and he's going to add his speed. And we get a 10 plus 1. So the archer has 1, and he's going to do 1 point of damage, which we will mark with a little red die. He now has 15 hit points left. The minions for Asperidatos go. The first one picks this up, runs off the table. Oh, I had to move Asperidatos. Sorry, this is Kakoigetis. Asperidatos, I had to move him back an inch. He only moves 5 inches with a double move on this table. 5 inches all I can move. He's still a full 1.5 inches away from that loot counter. All right, back to these guys. This guy also moves 6 inches. He's going to use his first action to pick up the loot. Second action, get off the table. The score is already 2-0 in favor of the boys in brass. Then we have a guy who can take 2 moves. He's going to slide over to here. I know you can't see that, so we'll just kind of show you. He's just off those ruins there. The ruins, as I said, are rough going. We do have a spearman who's capable of moving 6 inches with a double move, and we may be able to catch that archer over there. So we're going to bring him up to here. And we have a couple of more archers. Maybe we bring this archer up 2 moves to here. And yeah, we may be able to get a shot off on that archer. We're gonna make Polemicles think about it. And we have one more guy. This guy ran over this spearman over here has not moved. He can move a total of 6 inches, so he'll actually be able to get into combat. He's going to contact the enemy leader. But that's all. I think that's all he's going to be able to do. He does not have the action, so he cannot attack on this first turn. He is the last of the 6 minions to activate. So we're done with the turn. Or not. When you get to within 1/2 inch of another figure, you automatically begin the combat sequence. Our attacker has a combat score of +2. Our defender has an armor score of +2. So we're going to roll the dice and see who comes out on top. There's your armor score of 11. And with a attack score of 11, that's a 13 to 13, no effect. Which means they will stay locked in combat. If there had been a clear-cut winner, not only do you do damage, but you push your opponent back a half an inch. With the spear, that becomes a full inch and a half. He would have been able to push our hero completely off. That did not happen. So we move on to turn number 2. And every turn, you re-roll the initiative. Our resolves are tied, so it's just going to be a straight roll-off. The boys in limestone now get to go. And I think because we're a half inch away, if our hero uses an action to pick that up. So here's where having that minor hero help you out comes in handy. We can pick this up and we can move another 3 inches with our second action. And because we're at that half inch mark, I think we're not locked in combat yet. So we're going to move over here. And we have to be careful because if we're within a half an inch of this archer, he can force combat as well. So our hero winds up there. And now it is the minor hero's turn. And our minor hero can slide over here on his turn. We'll bring him as close as possible. And now he's got this whole gap blocked off. Although not the entire gap, because this guy is going to be able to make contact. So our hero is going to have to fight another combat. Maybe we want to bring him up this way a little bit because the push is going to be in a direction that we want it to be if we can beat that guy. And that is ultimately going to end the... Oh, I got a little too excited here, didn't I? He gets to go. And he says, well, I'm not going to let you get away with my stuff, guy. I'm going to run in and I'm going to attack you. And we're going to have a boss fight. And our 2 leaders are going to get into it. Polemocles is still rolling his armor, which is at +2. He gets a total of a 9. And Kakoigetis is going to roll a 10. His combat is a +1 for an 11. So with 9 to 11, that's 2 points of damage. And the attacker has the option of remaining locked in combat or pushing your opponent back. In this case, we're going to exercise that option. We're going to push our opponent back a half an inch. There's the wound die. We're doing that for a very important reason. We know that this minor hero is going to rush in and attack, and we do not want to get dogpiled in a 2-on-1. We think we can take this minor hero. So we'll roll the dice. We get we'll call that a 9, and I warned you about this. This game is going to cluster around the top of that bell curve, but there's going to be some huge swingy results. A 9, but Asperadatos has +1 combat, so that becomes a 10. Remember, our limestone, I keep saying limestone, our granite statue is granite. Who's the geologist around here? Marble statue is at +1. The armor for Kakoigetis is at +2, so he is going to be defending at a 16 versus a 10. The defender won. Oh, except you know what? Asperadatos is... Yeah, the defender won. Asperadatos is heavily armored. It's hard to hurt him, but his combat isn't all that great. So, the difference in score doesn't matter in this case. But because he lost, the attacker now has to pass a resolve check. He has to beat a 10 plus his resolve bonus. He's got a resolve bonus of 1, so he's got to beat an 11, which he does not. Or, let's see, let me read this. The attacker must... Oh, if the winner is the defender, which was the case, the attacker must roll 3d6 and beat the defender's resolve score. Oh, the defender's resolve score is an 11. He did not beat that resolve score, so he is going to be pushed back a half an inch to there. And then it's the minion's turn. And as we discussed, this minion is going to get off the board so that we get at least 1 loot token. But now we have to try and survive quite a few attacks. Remember, we had an archer down here. See him down there? He's going to take a pot shot at our leader. And all of the usual bonuses apply for this. I don't have to recalculate. The archers all have the same ability. Combat +2 versus an armor +2. Blue dice defending. We get a 6, 7, 8. We get a 12, 13, 14. 8 versus 14. That's 6 more damage on our big dang hero. He goes from 3 to 9 damage, which I will mark on the character sheet. He now has 7 left. This spearman will charge into the fray and roll against a defense of 14. He gets a result of 16, 17 versus 14. That's 3 more damage. Bear in mind, if you roll a natty 18, then you do an extra 5 points of damage. All right, in this case, I'll show you an easy way to run the numbers here. That 6, this leaves, oh, well, I guess you could just do the math. These 6s cancel out. That actually becomes, and remember, our bonuses cancel out. So 4 more damage. That leaves our big dang hero with just 3 hit points left. He only has 1 action to his name now. And because we won, we could shove him back, or we could stay locked in combat. We're going to shove him back, and that forces him to drop his loot token. So he goes back about 1.5 inches, and with just 1 activation left, it's not looking good for the boys in white. Not only that, but we still have another archer here who can take a shot at this figure. And so we'll roll for the attack and the defense. And I'm sorry you can't see that. Let me just shove them straight across. You're just going to have to take my word for it. Well, that was a 5, wasn't it? We got an 11. So these cancel out. And our result is we won by 4 over here. We are at +2 for +1 for Asperatos' speed and +2 for the attack. So that's going to be a total whiff. But we do have 1 more spearman. They can come up here and cause some problems. He'll launch an attack. And in this case, the blue dice are going to be at +4. And I don't know that +4 is going to be enough. We got a 15 versus a 12. So that's 3 extras against the guy in limestone. So 3 extra takes him down to 13 hit points. And because we won, we can shove him back 1.5 inches. We don't want to. We're going to stay locked in combat. That's going to end the turn. So on our following turn, we see who gets to go first this time around. Adding 1s to both. It's going to go the way of the boys in bronze this time. Everything is going their way. So now we can move to here, pick up the loot counter. That's both of our... Oh, I'm sorry. Hero has to go first. Hero's going to... what do we want to do? We're going to try to take out this guy. We're going to attack him. And he now has more to deal with because he's in base-to-base combat with 2 figures. Gives Kakoi Getis an extra +1. He is going to be at +2 on his combat score versus +4 for the armor score. The armor score will get a total of 12. The attack score will get a total of 8, 9. Defender wins. Defender attempts to push the attacker back, and he gets a score of 12, which is successful. So the hero gets pushed back. Then this hero gets to go, and he says he only gets 1 action, remember. So about all he can do is, with only 3 health remaining, and the other thing is he's at -2 on all of his die rolls. So I think this is time for the better part of Valor. He says, no, he's got to help his buddy out. I think we're going to slide over here. Let's go ahead and attack this guy. Can we squeeze through that gap? I'm going to allow it just because I want to see what happens. And our blue dice are attacking now. The blue dice are at a total combat of -1. Yeah, this might not go very well. So 9 versus... So this is 9 versus an armor score of the Hypaspist is at +1. So 9 versus 12. Yeah, that didn't work very well. The resolve is 1, so we have to beat an 11. We didn't beat the 11, so we stay locked in combat. And now the Hypaspist here gets to wait. So did he activate first? Yeah, nothing doing. So we have a couple of spear guys that can attack. And I'm going to break this into 1-to-1 combat. We're going to run over here. And we're going to do the combat between the major hero first. The major hero is defending. He gets a total of 16. He gets a 12. The attacker gets a 12. Adds another 2, 14. That does 2 more points of damage. And Polemocles is down to just 1 hit point. Then we have a second attack. Oh, wait a minute. No, I got that backwards. This is the attack with Asperidatos. Asperidatos actually wards off that attack because he gets a total of 15. His armor is 4. That means he's going to push. And with the spear, he can push this guy back 1.5 inches. Right into contact with the loot. Well, what are you going to do? We need to break that off. So now it's Polemocles versus a rando. Polemocles gets a total score of 11. The rando gets a score of 13. 14 versus 11 does 3 points of damage, and that means that our hero is laid low by a nameless spear carrier. Not off to a very auspicious start. We may wind up deciding that our campaign is going to be run using the boys in bronze, who, by the way, Asperidatos, is going to have to eat an arrow, and the arrow is going to score a grand total of 13. Asperidatos only adds 1 to this die roll. He gets an 11. He takes 2 points of damage, knocking him down to 11. And then this archer is going to race forward 6 inches to right there. He's going to try and grab that loot. We're done. It's Asperidatos. And I got to think about this. His resolve is 1. So moving on to turn number, and this is what I was talking about. We're already on to turn number 4. So we're halfway done. I don't even know if we can get this thing off the table right now. So we have to put Asperidatos on the ground. Our roll says Asperidatos gets to go first. And I think we're just going to do that. I think he just needs to retreat. He says, "Sorry, my lord, this ain't going the way I'd hoped it would." And, unless we, it's a Greek, we're going to go suitably epic in this one. He charges into battle. He has to see if he can win a fight against Kakoigetis. So he makes his attack roll. He gets an 11. The defense is going to be way higher, and the defense is just going to knock him back. Okay, that's going to be it. We didn't even do. I actually did this backwards. He should have gone first, and then him. And he did go first and issued a challenge. There you go. So then we pick this up with our first action, and we move like 3 inches. And we have time. We're going to be getting off the board. So the game is effectively over. And what I'm going to do, but that kind of shows you how the game operates, right? He did everything he could this turn. We can kind of ambush and beat up on him. But at the end of the day, what's going to wind up happening is this archer this light spearman is going to get off the table. And we're going to have 3 loot counters. And I'm going to flip the script now. I thought I was going to follow Polemocles. This is going to be the campaign featuring Kakoigetis. I can't remember. I don't even remember what that stands for. It's obviously Greeklish. I translated an English phrase and it doesn't quite work out so well. But in our next episode, what we're going to do is we're going to sit down, and next week we're going to take a look at the campaign game. Now, I do have to warn you, when it comes to my figure collection, I have way more guys in bronze for my enemies than I do in marble. So these 7 guys down here, I got 3 archer minions. I got 3 light. Oh, those guys are heavy spears, actually. Do I have 3 light guys? Yeah. The guys, they look like, boys from the 300. These guys here with the cloaks and the instead of the full helms, they're just wearing nice little hats, little toques. We got some Canadian Greeks down here. It could happen. There's our light, and then this will be our hero moving forward. And that's really just, the change of uniform is just so that when we bring these mythic monsters onto the table, we're going to start with, here in 2 weeks, we're going to start with the Minotaur. There's a really interesting scenario with a fun little labyrinth kind of solo dungeon delve that we can do with DemiGod. But before we get there, we got to go through the little narrative campaign and the little steps and show you how we can figure out what those loot tokens are, what we can spend it on, what we can save it for. I didn't use any of the boons because my divine favor, turns out you actually start at 0. You have to earn experience points, so we got to register the fact. I'm just going to take credit for having beat the major hero and the minor hero, earn some XP, level up. We can see what kind of the, still low, but like the next level up is. We can see those divine favors in practice. And Cacoegetus, remember, is a son of Poseidon. So we have some fun earthquakes and tsunamis and just all kinds of unnatural disasters. But we'll have to take a look at that in a couple of weeks because we got some campaigning to do. Till then, remember, I'm praying for you. And not to these fake, goofy pagan gods. The one true God, the Word made flesh. That's who I'm praying to you. Not to you. That's who I'm praying to on your behalf. You know what I'm talking about.